fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging the moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land. I'm drinking my buddy's homemade wine, living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine in the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome. Fish Up Northwest Wayne. Tommy Dolan back in studio after a nice week break off, my friend. Huh?
Still in a turkey coma.
Yeah, still in a turkey coma.
For sure.
Thanksgiving was fantastic, and we enjoyed the week off, as I'm sure most of you did. Although, you know, small, intimate setting, just not a huge family.
Only 25 people.
Only 25. Yeah. Stayed within a reasonable amount, you know, didn't go crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are back. We are here this Thursday night, 6 p.m. You're joining us live in studio, as we do each and every week here on Fish on Northwest. If it's first time checking us out, we thank you for that. Jump on over to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to build our YouTube channel, and you folks are helping us out each and every week, and we appreciate that. So as we get settled in here, we got a great show lined up this evening. Lots to cover, Tommy. There's seems to always be things going on in the Pacific Northwest.
Always. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's hunting or the rivers or the sound. I mean, we got a full agenda.
Big time. We are covering some squidding opportunities tonight, winter crabbing, which you have been out doing, my friend, and you're doing very well. Nice sized crab. We have a little steelhead conversation we have to have, as that is on the minds of many, and we're not exactly sure which direction this is going to go. So we'll check in later on the show with our good buddy Robert Kratzer. He's got his head wrapped around this thing, and basically now spends 12 to 18, 20 hours a day the last several days on the phone, on the Zoom calls, on the conference calls, in the meetings, trying to truly understand and see which direction this is going. We're going to have a season. Is it going to be closed down coast-wide, south and north coast? We can have a partial season, couple months. A lot of that will be discussed later this evening on the show, and we'll try to wrap our head around it and see where exactly this thing's going to land, because it's kind of unknown. I was on the phone for a full hour this morning with WDFW talking through a handful of options, and I got to tell you, a number of them don't sound very good at all. And so one thing we have to keep in mind is, as we go down this road of deciding what we're doing this year, how that cause and effect results in next year. You know, if they make the wrong decision this year, all of a sudden we have a full-on closure next year. Not even a discussion; it's just closed. Yeah, right. From the gate, right? So we'll see which direction this is going to go. Bobby's got his head wrapped around it pretty good, and we'll delve into his brain and see where we land with that. Also going to check in on the east side. Longtime friend Shelby Ross is over there. The duck hunting's been pretty darn good. Slight change in the weather this last week, as we've also experienced over here. So that can either aid or harm you as far as opportunity on ducks and geese. And we'll catch up with Shelby in the duck taxi, the Potholes Duck Taxi, see what's happening over there on the east side in that regard. You, sir, are going to bring us a great how-to. Back in the bait lab, haven't done that for a few weeks. Most of our how-to content's been out there on the river as of late, as we got through fall fishing, right? A lot of folks appreciating the content we've provided in the realm of bobber and bait fishing and bobber dogging and all those things, and jig twitching and what have you. But tonight we're back in the bait lab. It is winter crab season.
It is.
Killing it on the winter crabs. You got some insight relative to setting up your pot.
Yep. We're going to cover A to Z.
Yeah.
I mean, super simple. Anybody can do it. It's going to be awesome.
Good content in that regard for sure. So stick around for that. So we're all over the place tonight with lots of things going on as we at some point are going to transition out of this fall time into winter. So we're talking crabbing, squidding, steelhead, duck and geese. Plenty to talk about. Before we get there, I want to remind everybody that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. Homes don't last all too long in the market as of late.
No, there's nothing that's going to slow down our real estate market.
No, it's crazy good right now. Joe Maxwell, the owner there and contributor to the show since day one, been a friend a long time. I tried to encourage him, hey, get me some content, let's get back to doing a home of the week. He's like, I don't hold on to him for a week.
Yeah, right.
So it's like home of the day. Okay, we'll bring you that, right?
We're getting into the part of the year now, too, where the inventory is low, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to find one.
So anyway, if you are looking for a home, give them a call at Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons, located in Puyallup. Joe and his staff are fantastic. Also, as we all know, presented by Defiance Marine. Spent a little time out there today.
You did, yeah.
Put a quick post up when I got home before the show here. The boat is underway, right?
Mm-hmm.
The build has begun. So I think I put the post up and said, when dreams become reality, this boat will be, it'll come together relatively quick. I'm going to get out there next week, get some updated photos. And they're like, well, you better get out here quick because it's going to paint shop. I was like, what? It's just skin and bones right now, but
they move quick.
They move quick.
Yeah, they do.
have about 7 different boats in there, a couple 30-footers. They got some stuff going on that we'll be showing down the road here. But Defiance Marine, not just amazing in their ability to build both glass and aluminum boats, right? Manufacturers of the Allied series, which is the boat I'm going to receive, is the 21-foot hardtop Mustang from Allied, of course, then the Arima and the Defiance series that you have.
Yeah.
And by the way, David is in the house this evening. Another owner of a Defiance manufactured boat. Josh is taking a night off. Physically unable to walk.
Is it physically or emotionally?
I think it's emotionally.
I think it's emotionally.
It's an emotional time of year for him.
Yeah.
Because he can't fish, so so he said, I need a night home just sucking my thumb, and you guys do the show without me. So David is here. It's good to see everybody.
In the
David,
house.
he's been here from the start, helped me get this whole thing going. So I'm so glad you were available to help us out tonight. With Josh being sick, we would not be having a show.
Yeah.
So we got all that. Anyway, moving on. Our last show, Tommy, before the Thanksgiving break, we had young Mr. Dakota Portman.
Yeah.
Cranking out some
phenomenal.
Great show. Lots of people tuned. We had about 10,000 views on that show. People jumped all over it. That guy can play and sing and entertain, and he's going places. That was the show the evening of opening day of Lake Buck. So Dakota and I spent Friday and Saturday hiking around the hills and getting out looking for some deer. We did 12 miles on Friday.
Not very far.
No.
Just a little light walk.
Little light walk.
Little stroll.
Up the hills and down the roads and up into the woods and the clear cuts. And gosh, man, I was really anticipating the areas we got into and the terrain we were looking at and the type of replant and some of the regrow and reprod, just the forest edges and all those areas that we were into that look so conducive to drawing blacktail out. Nothing, just some does.
And you didn't see anybody else out there in that area you were in either, did you?
No, it was amazing. And then the Saturday we did about 6 miles in a couple different areas. Then I drove up to a place not too far from here, kind of in my backyard. Actually scouted out some land back here behind our place up on the hill, and then we went up onto this other place, got to the end of the road where the road literally ends at a gate, and there were 6 trucks there. And there was a dad and his young son. He was probably 12, 13 years old. They had just come out, talked to him for about 10 minutes on how their morning went, what they saw, and he goes, nothing. So I think they saw a doe and orange vest popping up.
Right. The pumpkin patch.
Yeah, pumpkin patch. So that being said, Dakota and I had a great time. We put some miles on the boots. It felt good to get out. Really got me steering down that road of
the bicycle,
getting a bike next year. Yeah, because you and I are going to be on bikes. Something you've been doing. Nice tow behind cart, sturdy.
Yep.
Heavy duty enough to tow an elk out of there, right?
Yeah. The problem becomes the braking system.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because as you go downhill, if you have a trailer that doesn't have brakes, your trailer's going to be passing you as you go down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of weight you're stacking.
It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. So if you're going down a steep incline or decline rather, you got a couple options. You have to rig your trailer with brakes that you can control with your bike, or you've got to have somebody go behind you and brake for you.
Yeah.
You got to do something though, because it does not work. You can't just slow roll it down the hill. That is not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to apply brakes to your bike and you're not going to stop. You're just going to keep going.
Yeah, they're just going to get
four quarters, back straps, burger meat, neck meat, and then the rack. Not a chance. I mean, you could probably,
not a chance.
You could do it in 2 trips, but it kind of defeats the purpose of having a bike and a cart, right?
Yeah.
So a bike allows you, you're talking about, you went to one spot and it was the pumpkin patch. It was a hunter here, hunter there, hunter everywhere. Your chances are very slim, right? And so the idea behind the bike is you go around the gate, it's non-motorized, and you ride your bike, you get out of the pumpkin patch until you're in that untouched territory. And then to be able to, go 8 miles deep without having to make 8-mile round or 16-mile round trips 4 times to get your elk out, or maybe a couple times to get your buck out. It's basically one and done, right? You get your bike, your cart, grab them, go, and you're done.
Because we were in some pretty steep, some of those old logging roads and fire roads, fire line roads that we were on, hiking up pretty steep country. Fat tire bike would do amazing, but if I had 400 pounds of meat pushing behind me, not where I want to be without proper braking. So that's a good tip.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the direction we're heading. Looking forward to getting the bike and everything ready to go here spring and summer and spend some time out cruising, just surveying land and checking out some other areas that I got some pin drops on. I want to spend some time in because you don't want to wait till October to get out and start looking at stuff. Get out there and survey that stuff early and scout it out, figure out a plan.
And really what you're looking for too when you're doing it that early is you're looking more for the habitat that's going to be prime come hunting season, right? Come October, November. You're not sitting there looking for animals because if you're out there here in a couple months, May, June, they're probably not going to be in the same exact location then as they will be in the fall, right?
The foliage changes completely. Right.
Yep.
And what they're feeding on changes completely, and where they're drawing water from, because now we have rain, changes completely. I mean, it all changes. But what you are looking at is you're surveying the land and finding some of those flats and those bed areas and just timber edges and things that you can look at Google Earth and you get an idea. Then you get in there and you're like, oh, well, these trees are actually they're 15 feet tall now. You can't really tell that from topography or looking at the map all the time. Depends when it was updated, right? So
and that's a big problem. I mean, some of the maps, some of the locations that I hunt, they haven't been updated for 3 or 4 years. And so, especially on timber company property, if you've got, if there's an active logging operation going on, it's going to be a completely different landscape.
Absolutely. So, looking forward to that. The other thing we're talking about is we are going to venture on into an out-of-state hunt together. We just got to figure out where we're going, Montana or Wyoming. If my brother-in-law is watching in Wyoming, Leo, I'm giving you a call. Because
putting the pressure on.
That's a no-brainer. When your sister-in-law puts a donkey up, standing in the front yard, you kind of go, "Gosh, how far out of town do we got to get before we can pull the trigger?"
Big 4-point muley with eye guards. Sign me up.
Huge. So anyway, Wyoming would be a fun destination. Montana's not bad. Been there before, but the out-of-state hunting is just so aggressively competitive.
It is.
With a lot of Washingtonians.
And it's really dynamic,
Well, and so no more proof needed in that regard than the melee and fiasco that ensued yesterday or the day before, December 1st, to get online, get your Idaho tag. Now, you were successful.
I was successful in getting my tag, but that whole thing was a nail biter. So I actually logged on early just to see if I could get into the system. So I logged on about an hour early. Got in there and it was like, okay, I could put the big game license itself let me put it in the cart. And then I'm waiting, and I'm making sure that the computer's not going to sleep, anything like that. I got good connectivity. Internet's working just fine.
And this was what time?
This is, for us, it was 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it was 9 a.m. And so I was on there at like 7:50 or so, just checking out the lay of the land. And then all of a sudden, it kicks me out. And it goes something to the effect of, sorry, we're experiencing difficulties. And there's this picture of this big bull elk on the screen. I'm like, that's not helpful. That is not helpful at all. And then I wait a couple more seconds. I'm thinking, this is not going to go well.
Right.
You know, this is like, I don't know, 20 minutes before 9 a.m. And then all of a sudden it goes, oh, you have a place in line and you are number 2,998. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it says, once you're up in line, you've got 5 minutes. So when your number's called, you got 5 minutes to use that system. And if you don't use it in 5 minutes, guess what? You're going to have to take another ticket in line.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
And so, like, you know, with this kind of system, I mean, I get it, right? They reduced, in a lot of the zones, they reduced the number of tags for non-resident hunters. I'm not even blaming anybody. If I'm an Idaho resident, dude, I totally get it. I have nothing but respect. And so I'm not complaining about the reduction in non-resident tags, but that system was a nightmare. And one of the guys in our hunting party did not get a tag because of that system.
Yeah.
So it definitely needs some work. And the thing is, even once you got in there and you got the tag that you wanted in your cart and you're like, hey, I want to pay now. Oh, and just watching that little swirly spin, the indicator, it's spinning. Nothing's happening.
Right.
And I actually had another computer up with another ticket number in line, and I'm watching that one, and a little message pops up, and it says, oh, by the way, don't refresh your screen. Because if you refresh your screen, you're going to lose your spot in line. But at the same time, the clock never stops ticking.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, luckily I was able to get my tag. But man, it just, you know, as I was waiting, these little messages would pop up. And it would say, boom, the Pioneer Zone is sold out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this zone is sold out. And you're thinking, crap, you know, like, and then when you get in there, it actually tells you how many tags are left in your zone that you're going for elk.
You can still get on there right now, and it tells you there's still some zones that have tags.
There are, right.
But there's a number of them that are sold out, and they sold out relatively quick. Handful of guys I spoke with experienced the same thing as you. I was trying to wrap my head around, if I'm a dad and me and my son want to go hunt in a unit, and we got to sit there on different computers, and one of us gets the tag and the other doesn't, it's like, kind of like, you know, anybody in your hunting group, right?
Well, and you're committed too because the tag prices went up too, right? So the elk tag that was $416 is now $652.
Yeah.
The deer tag that was $302 is now $352, and just on top of that, you can no longer buy a statewide deer tag. It's not just what zone, but what unit do you want to hunt for deer? And it's like, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I passed on the deer tag, took the elk tag.
All those folks signing on, logging on and getting in line, getting their number, waiting and hoping, you know, waiting for them. Hopefully their computer doesn't freeze, go to sleep, all those things you mentioned.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing that, and nerve wracking. And, you know where they don't have that problem? Here in Washington. There's not a bunch of people in other states that are logging in to get tagged.
No, nobody wants to hunt here.
That's my point. So there are not other persons in states experiencing this emotional duress, trying to get that elk tag for Western Washington. It's like, oh, Doug, I hope I don't get booted out. That ain't happening.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
That's not even a reality right there. So, all right, well, you got your elk tag.
I did.
And you're going to do that hunt. And we have time. I actually I got a website that I keep loaded on my desktop on my laptop, and it basically lists all the states that I'd be interested in hunting, and it gives me reminders of when your application date is due, when the final day is that you have to submit for that specific animal in that specific state. And it's kind of nice because there's a lot of them to consider.
Oh yeah, it's complex.
And to be on top of it and remember, oh my gosh, I got to have my Idaho tag in by December 1st. Yeah, that comes up really quick.
Yeah,
some of our hunts aren't even done here in Washington, and you're already applying for your Idaho
and especially when you're covering multiple states, multiple Western states, you really got to have that game plan figured out by the very first input, because especially when you're putting in for controlled hunts or special draw tags, because you've got to know, okay, if I put in for this draw, it's these 2 weeks in October, so therefore when I go to this other state, I can't put in for something that's the same time frame if I feel I've got a high probability of drawing both, right? And so it really becomes this chess match of moving pieces to try to get the hunts that you want, unless you're going for, you know, points only option. Of course, you know, Idaho they don't have a point system. It's every year you have a probability that's the same as the guy next to you.
Everybody wins, everybody loses.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, before we jump out of here, hey, I want to remind everybody, we put a post up on our Facebook page as it relates to Sportco FHN exclusive Catch Cooler Deluxe by Silver Horde.
Turn that sucker around so people can see it. Yeah, there we go.
Cooler Deluxe by Silver Horde. David's putting the coupon up there. So this is a great deal. This is a good size bag for your boat, your drift boat, what have you, your vehicle. Catch Cooler Bag Deluxe. It's extra insulated. It does a very nice job. Holds some pretty decent sized fish. Now, you're not going to take this tuna boat.
Yeah, I couldn't get my elk in there, but you know.
But as far as fish goes, hey, here's all you need to do. This is an online purchase only. It only lasts until 9 a.m. tomorrow via sportco.com. So log in, get onto sportco.com. $25 off this bag, basically getting this thing for $35, which is a screaming deal.
Right, but you got to use the code.
You got to use the code
Fish Hunt.
Fish Hunt at checkout.
Right, it's just one word.
Yep, Fish Hunt. One word, Fish Hunt. Yes, there's 2 H's. Don't screw that up, right? Fish Hunt at checkout is the code to get the reduced price. There's no limit. It's not a buy one only. And you also have the option to have it shipped, depending if you're out of state or not. Or you can swing by Sportco then and pick it up, save a little bit on shipping if it's on your way home or within your means to do so. So $25 off these deluxe Catch Cooler bags. That is the first of the next few weeks as we do shows up until Christmas. We'll have a special each week through Sportco, one of our contributing sponsors. So help support the companies that support us, please, and get online, sportco.com, order your Catch Cooler bag from Silver Horde, and save some serious money.
Yeah, I was there today, actually. I stopped by before I came down here.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have got, I don't know if you mentioned it, but you probably did, but we're going to talk squidding tonight as well in the Puget Sound, which has taken off tremendously.
Yeah.
And they had like a whole board of squid jigs. And they had, if you wanted to make your own, they had the hooks, you know, the shafts, the bodies, the everything colors that you could possibly, you know, need to make your own jig. They had it there. I was impressed.
It's becoming a big deal, and for good reason, as you said or had mentioned. It's getting pretty well known, and folks are doing. It's a great family.
Oh yeah, totally.
To get the kids out there, right?
It's easy.
So yeah, we'll have Captain Paul Kim on later, who's the Squid King of Seattle.
He is.
He's the Squid King of Seattle.
I like it.
Sounds like a good name for a slumlord. Go down to 4th and 5th and talk to
the Squid King.
He's the Squid King of Seattle, Chicago. All right, hey, we're gonna jump out for a quick break. We come back. It's winter crab time in Puget Sound.
It is. Yes.
And you've been crushing it. You put up pictures of bowls of crab meat. That was fantastic. Successes in winter crabbing. A few things you're going to need to know. Tommy's got the answers for you. Throw your questions up here. Text them in if you have some relative to crabbing, and he's going to get you dialed in. Don't go anywhere. Jump out for a quick break. We'll be right back here at Fish on Northwest.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Hey, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. Wayne England, Tommy Dolan, and of course, David Butternut sitting behind.
Butternut.
Sitting behind the desk over
Butterfield?
There. Yes, Butterfield.
I love buttered stuff.
Yeah.
All right, it's half-baked reference,
yes,
older movie.
Absolutely. So you have found yourself on the crabbing grounds a few times in the last several weeks.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It's been really good,
It's really good.
And so we've been up in area 8-2 and 9, and the commercial guys and the tribal guys, they've been out there too. But I tell you what, the crab are still there. I mean, they hammered that area. There was one weekend, there was 25 to 30 tribal crabbers in that zone we were crabbing off Everett.
I wonder how many pots they each put out, right?
Oh, there was one. Well, there was one every 50 feet. It was like a checkerboard of pots, just bang, 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 bang. And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to take a major downturn, but we'll go anyway. We'll probably get, maybe 5 or 10 crab, right? And so we went back out there the following weekend after they had pulled their gear. And I was shocked. After 2 sets of the pots, we had 22 crab for 5 people.
No kidding.
Just 2 sets.
Yeah.
Hour and a half set. And I'm thinking this is phenomenal.
It's a Potsy crab and shrimp fuel.
It is. So I mean, we did use that. I mean, and we'll talk about that in the how-to, the Potsy's crab and shrimp fuel. But that stuff is money. Yeah. But I mean, I was just shocked that that fresh crab, legal crab, were coming back in there. A ton of crab, which is a good sign that we're just under that 6 1/4 mark. Yep. So I felt that was really good. And honestly, to tell you the truth, there really wasn't that much pressure out there. I mean, it was
as far as recreational.
Yeah. So I mean, we were able to set our pots really clean, didn't have to worry about
how deep water are you in.
We had gotten a report from the tribal and commercial fishers that they were getting them in shallow, like 18 feet of water, 20 feet of water, 25. And I usually don't crab that shallow. Yeah. And a couple of my buddies did get them in there shallow. And I'll be honest with you, we set a couple pots in there and they did not perform as well as the pots that we set 80 feet deep, like 70 to 80. And so those, for us at least, those deeper pots, and it was around that high tide, the deeper pots still did well. For whatever reason. And so we kind of moved, after that first set, we moved the other ones that were in shallow out into that deeper water, and they all crabbed well.
We are, I think we're right at a full moon cycle right now, so we're coming up onto that full moon cycle this last week. I haven't had any reason to check tides or anything. Were the big tides, big swings?
We had a 10 foot high in the morning. This is last weekend. We had a 10 foot high at first thing at like 4:30, going to a 6 foot, and then going back up to a 10. And then the big swing was that afternoon and evening, like after 3 o'clock. It went from, I think, 10 all the way to 0 or something like that. And so we crabbed the small swing. Yeah. And my thought on crabbing is like you don't want like a really super wimpy tide, because then you're not getting that scent trail.
Nothing moves.
Nothing's moving, right? Yep. Now, on the other hand, if you're doing a knot plus, those crab are just going to have a little bit of a tough time getting to that pot, and then then you really got to get concerned about, okay, is my pot moving when it's on the bottom, right? Those pots start moving, and then the crab's chasing the pot, you're chasing your pot. Yep. That's just a non-starter.
No, it's not gonna work.
So you got to make it stick to the bottom.
You're going to go into bait and stuff later?
Yes,
during your
we will. We will do, when we do the how-to, we're going to do a full discussion on bait, because that is the key to this game.
Your soak time was what? Wasn't all day?
No, it was not even an hour and a half. So what I do is I got my handy watch here, and as soon as that first pot goes overboard, I look at the clock and I go, okay, it's 6:30. Yeah. And then I go, okay, I want to be pulling that pot that I just set an hour and a half from now. Oh. And so that was it. Basically, we averaged just over a crab per pot, which, I mean, in my book, for an hour and a half set, that's money. Yeah. That's all day. I'll take that all day.
Yeah. And they're nice size. The keepers are nice.
Yeah. There was probably about, I'd say 9 or 10 of those crab that we kept out of the 25 that were like Mondo, well over the total width of the crab gauge.
Yeah.
Just beautiful big crab.
Now we're talking Puget Sound, because if you're following some of the news out on WDFW, we have a few areas closure currently.
Correct.
Because of domoic acid, much like the clam digs shut down due to acid levels. So make sure you check your regulations. You don't want to go out there and crab an area that's unbeknownst to you closed simply due to toxin levels. That could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a neurotoxin. Don't want to mess around with that stuff, right?
Right,
so,
definitely not.
Be careful in that regard. So if you plan to go crabbing, there are great opportunities even outside of Puget Sound. But again, check the regulations and make sure everything is still currently open. So, choking.
Don't choke.
I know. Stick around. We have more crab talk. Coming up later when Tommy's going to be in the bait lab, actually going to talk about rigging a pot, some things you need to understand. Baiting and weighting a pot is crucial for success.
Yep.
And how you orient your pot and how you get your bait bag in there or your container, or however it is you affix it. Talk a little bit about your mixture. We use the Potski crab and shrimp fuel because it works so doggone good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about broadcasting scent. We'll talk about having good meaty substance in there for them to chew on once they get in the pot.
Yeah.
Those types of things, right?
Yep.
So going to break it all down for you as we get into that a little later in the show. So stick around for that. We are going to jump out for a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Robert Kratzer on, Angler's Guide Service, also the Vice President of Washington State Guide Association. Trust me, folks, there are a number of meetings happening each and every day. WDFW staff is exhausted. Tribal representatives are exhausted. Professional fishermen and ladies, those that work the waters day in and day out, albeit guides and outfitters, are exhausted. And a lot of this has some detrimental impact financially, emotionally. This is a big deal. And it's not improved since last year. We unfortunately had multiple closures up north. That then worked its way down here to Grays Harbor area in this entire region, got an early shutdown to Steelhead, when, in fact, we are off to one of the best hatchery opportunities on Steelhead through the Chehalis Basin, Wainuchi, and what have you, that I could remember in years. Lots of hatchery fish. I know for certain, I personally talked to a handful of friends of mine. I mean, some guys like to make a big deal about numbers, which, okay. I was more interested in the fact that it was not just one or two guys, really hot sticks, that were finding double digits of steelhead each day out, but it was a number of people and a high percentage of hatchery fish early on in the fishery, which was exciting. And then they start talking about pending closures due to low wild fish numbers, right? And that's your benchmark. That is the critical factor here, is the numbers of your wild fish, and if there's enough to go after those hatchery fish, because you are going to encounter the wild fish, and they attach a mortality rate associated with that type of activity, to the point of we're talking gear restrictions and or bait restrictions, or God forbid, no fishing from a floating device. Okay? All those in an effort to, literally, from the words of WDFW, the recreational fleet has become too good at catching fish. We need to find ways to reduce their efficiency. You guys catch too many fish, you handle too many fish. Mortality rates are, easily 10% in some regards. So when you start breaking this down, we'll get into it with Bobby, but you start breaking this down, in this river, Tommy, you can afford to a mortality rate of 100 fish. This river has 50. This river has 25. This river has 200. You start coupling all that together, you go basin-wide, we're looking at, we can catch and release a certain amount of fish, but if we go over a mortality rate of, say, 350 fish for a basin or whatever their numbers are, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's, I've always kind of looked at our fisheries management, both relative to salmon and steelhead, and the fact that we have to look at a particular river and we're counting it down to the, those
double
25
digits even.
fish,
Yeah.
or, those 50 fish, or, hey, we got 500 fish on the table. Should we split it 50-50 with the tribe and you guys get your 250? We shouldn't even be here.
Right.
We should not even be here, but unfortunately, because of so many things in today's modern society, first of all, 7.5 million people in the state of Washington, development, loss of habitat, hydro. I mean, the list goes on and on. We cover a lot of it here at Fish Hunt Northwest, but the bottom line is we have some management issues, we have some co-management issues, we have some harvest rate issues, we have some catch and release concerns, we have a lot of things going up against us, and now we're trying to once again salvage a season. We're trying to salvage a season. How do we get through December and January and go after those hatchery fish that are put in the river for us to go after and retain, because there's no wild fish, steelhead wild fish retention in the state of Washington for recreational. How do we have opportunity on the hatchery fish that are put in the waters for us to go after, catch, and retain? If you're a guide, that's how you make your livelihood, getting people in the water. We look forward to that after the hard winter. We get into that softer winter with, nice sunny conditions in March. We used to extend that into April. Who doesn't like going after wild steelhead in March? I mean, it is some of the best times on the water. Now we're talking about not even having opportunity, whether it's north or south coast or anywhere. So there's some updates from the day. We'll jump out for a quick break. We get Bobby. That was just kind of setting the tone here where this conversation is going to go. We'll get Bobby Kratzer on again, Vice President of the Washington State Guides Association, has his hand in the mix. We'll see where this is going. And do we think, and I want you guys to weigh in here, opportunity to go after fish, these hatchery fish, December, January, with a closure of February 1? Do we extend it out based on gear restrictions or fishing from boats restrictions so we can have a season extend to March 31st? Do we close South Coast and leave North Coast open? Worried about effort shift of everybody then heading out towards Forks and all that. There's a lot of balls in the air here. So we're going to cover all that. Jump out for a quick 1 minute break. Don't go anywhere. Get your questions on here. Get them ready. Bobby Kratzer, we come back right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
An Outdoor Emporium is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes & Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Hey, welcome back in studio to Win England. Tommy Dolan, Fish Hunt Northwest, and of course David back there spinning the knobs, keeping this whole thing going. And
he is.
Appreciate him being here. So, kind of a touchy subject, Tommy. I've been, kind of working towards bringing you up to speed on what all this is involved because you.
I'm a big steelhead fisherman.
You're huge.
Huge.
Well, you're a big.
I mean, they know me when I steelhead fish.
When you walk the dog, you're a big dog walker.
Oh yeah,
right?
I am.
So I mean, it's just.
I love to bob the dog, dog the bobber. How does that work?
Yeah, something like that. We're not talking about bobber dog. We will talk about bobber dog, and if we get an opportunity to bobber dog. And speaking of the king of bobber dog, Bobby Kratzer, Robert Kratzer, Angler's Guide Service, longtime friend. Also, currently Vice President of Washington State Guide Association. How you doing tonight, Bobby?
I'm doing good.
Appreciate you taking time to join us here tonight. I called you up yesterday kind of late, and we started talking about a handful of things. Let's face it, there's a lot of meetings, phone calls, Zoom meetings, frustration, emotions, everything all mixed into one going on here. Kind of history repeats itself. We went through all this last year, ultimately to be subjected to an early closure of the steelhead season here in the Grays Harbor region, the South Coast, if you will.
Yep.
And now we're talking, a handful of different options. So for those that didn't tune in to the WDFW Zoom meeting this last week, or those that haven't been following some of the posts on the Washington State Guide Association Facebook or social media page, let's get folks caught up to some of the options that are being discussed amongst Guides Association, WDFW staff, and of course co-managers.
So, there's a bunch of options on the table. There's really 4 options on the table right now. And those options were early closures across the board. That was one option.
Yep.
One option was a close everything except for the Quileute River system, because it's expected to have a better return with almost 3,400 fish over escapement level.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one option, was just close everything except for the Quileute system. The other option was leave things open and have regulations and some season changes to keep things open. And then number 4 option was close the entire coast, effective immediately for no steelhead. So that would be starting, as little as early as next week.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 options on the table. And you can kind of option number 1, which is early closures, that kind of goes in line with the regulation changes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So it's kind of like number 1 and 3 are pretty close together.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was, just leave everything closed except for the Quileute system. And I think that one got thrown out pretty fast just because of, everybody would go there just because it's the only place fishable, right?
Be a disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, and then number 4 obviously is a complete closure.
Right.
So earlier in the week when we had a conversation with James, he was alluding and leading us down the path that they were kind of leaning fairly heavy on the option number 3, which is regulation changes and some seasoning stuff. So the way it was presented to us, and excuse me if I don't have the dates exact, but they're pretty close.
Yeah.
Was Chehalis system, a good portion of the Chehalis system was going to be open through March 31st. Single point barbless hooks, no bait, and no fishing out of a floating device. Hub tulips was the same. Upper Quinault closes at the end of February, but same regulations, single point barbless, no bait, and no fishing from a floating device. Queets and Clearwater were to the 31st of March, and same with the Hoe and the Quileute system.
Mm-hmm.
So basically everywhere was going to be single point barbless, no bait, and no fishing from a floating device on any system up and down the entire coast.
So when you talk about changing regulations, some of the things we've been, kind of usual and accustomed to in them interjecting is, sure, single point barbless hook or single point barbless hooks, no bait restriction as we have on a number of our rivers in certain areas. Those are common things. You start throwing around terminology of no fishing from a floating device. You, as a professional guide, I think about and I go, okay, your clientele base over the course of the season is so vast in difference that, you might have a couple persons that could get out of the boat one day, wear fishing waders and willing to stand in 3 feet of water and fish. But the majority of your clients are there in the drift boat seat, bundled up, staying warm. Could be their first, father-daughter experience. Could be an elderly couple that you've been taking fishing for years. In other words, my point is a high percentage of these folks are not accustomed to getting out of a drift boat, standing in a river, or even fishing off a gravel bar, or the amount of persons you take fishing who can't even cast, so you're forced to pull plugs all day. This is a complete asinine game change that doesn't even make sense because it can't be successful, not just in the guide world, but you take this Grays Harbor region, and if you think 60 drift boats a day on the Wainuchi are all going to find gravel bars to stand on and fish, you're smoking the wacky stuff. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, or Or, I mean, I talked to somebody from down there the day that said that, you know, there's a handful of older gentlemen, retired people, who their every morning coffee deal, every morning they're sitting in the Chehalis or in the bottom end of the Wainuchi somewhere in their little power boats, and they throw their anchor out and they anchor up next to each other, and and they sit there and have their evening or their breakfast, and they've been doing it for the last 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
And now those people can't do that anymore, you know? We explained to James that, you know, when you look at this option of no fishing of a floating device, is you're looking at eliminating, and nobody has a number, but we all estimated that we're looking at an estimation of probably somewhere in the 70 to as much as 85% of the steelhead fishermen that partake in any of this, they all go away.
Yeah.
They're all done. They're not fishing anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of them have boats. It's the only thing they know. A lot of them aren't going to get out and wade. And like you said, you have, older folks that don't have disabilities. They're just older and they're just not as stable and they don't wade well. And, and then you have the fact that you have rivers that absolutely I'd like to have somebody tell me where you're going to wade the majority of the Solden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There just isn't a lot of places to get out for really advanced good anglers.
Yep. Well, Bobby's in that area.
I heard the beep.
Yeah. That's called a drop call. That's David's fault. I'll dial him back up here and see if
that's something Josh would do if he were here.
We may not reconnect with him. We may have one of those cell cloud interruptions out there at the He's out there on the coast.
He's out on the coast.
He's literally sitting at his fire pit where he gets decent cell coverage, and it seems like it's getting interrupted. So, some things to think about in regards to this, Tommy, is from a management standpoint and where WDFW is at on this thing, they are trying to, as I mentioned before, they're trying to make it so the recreational fleet is not so efficient in catching fish. Because if we're not catching fish, we're not releasing fish.
Or just getting rid of the opportunity altogether by saying you can't fish from a boat, right?
So it's an interesting conversation when we also bring in the co-managers who are going to put gill nets in the river, who don't have an option of non-discriminately releasing wild fish, right? So there's a percentage of fish that will be caught in commercial effort, because if we look at a December, January opportunity for recreational, then especially here in the Grays Harbor region, then the co-managers are going fishing as well. Okay. The flip side of that is what they'll bring to the table is they can say we can guarantee exactly to the number of dead fish that we create, because they can count them in the net. They look at the mindlessness of catch and release is a complete unknown of how many of those fish truly survive. There's a lot of scientific data to back it up, to give you a percentage of mortality rate, and it's all over the map depending on person's input and which reports they follow and where these studies were done. A 10% mortality rate on winter steelhead in cold waters, I think, is a bit excessive. But again, I'm no fisheries biologist. But if it's a safe benchmark that they can, utilize as a safe means of projection, then by all means attach that to us and let us go fishing. So I guess it comes down to, I don't think we're going to get Bobby back on here, but it comes down to a few options, and we're going to have a decision come out within this next week or so, hopefully. Oh,
hey there.
Hey, we got you back.
On.
How about that?
I have no clue what happened. That was weird.
I think during the short break there, you actually got back on the phone, paid your phone bill. And
there you go.
They allowed us to get back with you. So, hey, while we lost you for a bit, I was just kind of rehashing, some things in regards to mortality rates, co-managers here in this Grays Harbor or Chehalis Basin. If the recreational opportunity is out on the water going after fish for 2 months, you can bet the co-managers are going to want to have their opportunity. And they, as it was expressed to me from WDFW, they know how many fish they can, I don't want to say safely encounter and remove from the wild population. They have a number. Maybe on the hump tulips it's 50 fish. I believe actually last year on the hump tulips, co-managers removed 58 steelhead from the wild population.
Right.
So they break it down in those basins, Bobby, and so they all go, okay, we can afford to remove this many. This would coincide with our anticipated mortality rate associated with catch and release on anglers. So now let's say they decide they can't afford any impact to the wild return on this basin here in the south, and they close it down. They're then worried about pressure moving to the north coast, out there on your waters, and a great amount of pressure coming out to you guys. First, let me ask you, last year when we had our closure here in the south coast, did you see a huge influx of folks out there in your neck of the woods?
No, not at all. There was a few boats that came up and fished, a handful of days, but there was no steady increase of pressure. And I have a really good reason why I think that is, and I've shared it with a few people. It's a different fishery down there than it is here. Mm-hmm. Number one, you have a bunch of jet boats down there.
Right.
The people that fish out of jet boats.
Right.
Most of those guys don't have drift boats to fish. So
that's a good point.
They're not coming here, right? They're jet boat guys, right? They're going to go to the south.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of people, a lot of the people who go and fish those areas down there, they do so in the morning. They drive down there in the morning. They drive, it's a day fish. They can go there. It's a lot different drive when you're driving 4.5 hours.
Sure.
And then you got to spend the night, and then it's a 4.5 hour drive after you fish. And,
yeah.
And so a lot of people, that's not in their realm of what they want to do. And then the bigger issue is that you guys down there, that the southern rivers, people need to realize, and I think most people down there know this, and that is that, in the middle of February, when I'm catching and releasing nice wild steelhead, I have friends calling me and like, I was off the river at 10 with my hatchery fish, and I caught a couple wild ones and these hatchery fish, and and they're showing pictures of hatchery fish all the time, and their people are taking fish home.
Right.
A lot of the people that fish down in the Chehalis system and those areas down there are accustomed to being able to thump a fish,
sure,
and take it home. And when you come up here starting first part of January, that's not an option.
Right.
And so are there people going to come this way? No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
But
are we going to have a mass exodus? No.
Yeah.
I don't believe that we are. And the thing that I really want to point out is that I share the concerns the department shares. I completely 100% sympathize. I share their concerns. I'm worried about our wild fish and everything. Mm-hmm. The reality of it is we've had normal seasons for the last quite a few years, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of those seasons, we've been fishing when we've had under-escaped runs before, like already forecasted under, right?
Yeah.
And we fished anyway. Those runs didn't just collapse. Like, they just didn't fall off the face of the earth because we fished on under-escaped runs. So my point, and the point that most of us are pushing for, is we're not at critical thresholds on these rivers.
Right.
We're not to the point of, oh my God, you're dying tomorrow. Most of us are frustrated that we're having this conversation that we're having right now in the 19th hour. Seasons are going. You already know a bunch of people have caught steelhead.
Yeah.
Right? People are out fishing steelhead right now. We are in the season. And why are we having this conversation now?
What are you hearing from discussions or meetings from the co-managers? Let's say we are looking at, even in early season closure, there are fish on the table that are groups have the ability to go after. There are hatchery fish out there for the next couple months that commercially could be harvested, recreationally could be harvested, with a recognized impact to the wild fish. Out in your area, there are 33,000 to 3,300 fish above board that can be sought after. 50% of those can be acquired by the tribe. If we have a full-on closure and recreational doesn't go after even their share, Is there any discussions that then the tribes look at that? You know, we've been doing this long enough that you get that slogan kicked around, foregone opportunity, and persons are beginning to throw that around like, well, if there's no recreational opportunity out there in the Quileute system and those fish are in the water, the tribes are not only going to take their fish, but they're going to also go after a percentage of the recreational fish that we're not going after, because that is foregone opportunity. Or are the co-managers all kind of taking a breath, recognizing certain fisheries for what they are, and also working side by side, trying to figure this out, resolve it, and do what's best for conservation?
So I guess let me answer that. So we have several tribes down the coast, and I can't speak for all of them because I don't have conversations with all of them.
Right.
The one that I speak to the most is the Quileute tribe. And I would like to say that the Quileute tribe, I commend the Quileute tribe for the fisheries that they've created over the last half a dozen years.
Yeah.
They've been conservation minded as we are conservation minded. They're looking at these things going, hey, we can't continue to net at the levels that we've been netting. They can't continue to fish at the levels they've been fishing. We need to worry about this. And so on our salmon seasons and our steelhead seasons both, they've made some concessions. They've made some rules regarding their net fisheries. You know, you can't drift net and set net at the same time. You can do one or the other. You can't do both.
Okay.
You can only net this river if you've been enrolled in the tribe and you're here at least 9 months out of the year. There was one more, and I can't remember what it was, licensing. But anyways, they've made some good concessions. Last year, we had very similar numbers last year in the Quileute system. Very similar. We were like at 3,400 right there, same number.
Yeah.
And they opted to, instead of netting to 1,700, they said, let's cut back to 1,200, put an extra 1,000 fish on the table. Let's not net to our full 50%. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't, and they try not to, but because of the way we set up our seasons now, versus days versus an actual quota, you know, we're going to regulate our fishery to a point where we're going to try to harvest this amount.
Yeah.
And they may have gone over that a little bit.
Sure.
But regarding this season here, the Quileute tribe is 100% like, hey, there's 3,400 fish on the table, or 3,376, I think is what it is. But those fish are on the table, and they're upset that we're even having these conversations on the Quileute system.
About not having recreational opportunity, go get your fish.
Right. Why are we even having this conversation? In their eyes, there's 3,400 fish here.
There's no issue.
Let's go fishing.
Right.
Let's go fishing.
Right.
You guys should be fishing. We should be fishing. Period.
Yeah.
Now, they have shared some concerns, and they've shared this over the years about an increase in popularization of sport anglers.
Sure.
They've shared that concern, as we have. And how do we regulate that, or how do we manage the increase in angling? One of the things they would like to do, and we agreed upon it for this particular season, and think that maybe going forward this is a good option, and that is that we basically go back to rules that we had 25 years ago, and that was basically you close all the upper rivers above the 101 bridges. So on the Bogus Shield, be above the 101 bridge, above the Clow 101 bridge, and above the salmon hatchery on the Solduck. All those are closed at the end of February.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you're going to fish on them early, and then when those fish really start stacking up in there and to get ready to spawn and everything,
you leave them alone.
We shut them all down.
Yeah.
That's going to have a huge impact on not only the fish that we touch, but the fish that are in those spawning grounds. Right. And so it adds a huge section of water that those fish would have sanctuary in.
Yeah.
And so we feel like they've recommended it. We say, yes, we agree. We think that's a good idea. I will say this, and I think everybody needs to hear this that's on this call, and I need everybody to share this. And I want everybody to not only share it, but spread it. When it comes to the Quileute system, there are 3,400 fish on the table. If the state decides that they're going to a total closure of our steelhead runs down the coast with 3,400 fish on the table, the Quileute tribe is going to go fishing.
Right.
It is their legal right to.
Sure.
There is an abundance of fish there, and so forth. They're going to go fishing. They are deathly afraid of doing that. And the reason they're deathly afraid of it is because you know as well as I do, if they're fishing and we're not, what the average fisherman is going to be saying, thinking, possibly doing, so forth. They're worried about the health of their fishermen, the safety of their fishermen.
Sure.
Because us steelhead fishermen get crazy and, you know, they do stupid stuff. And they're going to be ranting and raving about the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And in the reality this year, guys, this has nothing to do with the tribe. In the Quileute system, there is enough fish there for us both to fish. If we're not fishing, it's not the tribe's fault.
Let's, we got to get out of here real quick, but before we go, real quickly, which direction do you think this is going as far as just real quickly summarize South Coast, North Coast? What do you think are some viable options that are on the table that can be reached? And then when do you think this will go into place? When's that final decision going to be hammered down?
So I think that a lot of this has to do with what the conversations they had with our co-managers yesterday and today. I think that all of the co-managers want to go fishing because there's some fish to fish for. They're going to try to create some kind of fishery around this. I believe that the whole fishing out of a floating device, as much as everybody has really pushed hard back against it, I think they're going to adopt that if they adopt seasons. If they don't adopt that and they leave us fishing in boats, we're going to have very short seasons, like very short seasons. And what they're going to do here on the Quileute system, I don't really know yet, particularly with the numbers. And then if this whole no closure thing is definitely a real deal, and it is a possibility.
Yeah.
My understanding is that they wanted to have an answer on this come tomorrow. And as far as my understanding was they wanted to be able to have an answer, and the director signed the deal come Monday morning.
Okay. Well,
so that was my understanding. Now, I don't know what's changed.
Right.
I will say, I mean, there is a lot of people way involved in this now, and there are letters being written. There are calls being called. I mean, senators are involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the governor office has been written letters and called to the director. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of proposals out there. There's a lot of groups meeting. I mean, I've been on 4 or 5 Zoom meetings a day with various groups, with various departments. There's a lot of moving parts right now. And so maybe what we're really asking is them in the 19th hour of this is to try to make seasons for us this year. And then let's put together an ad hoc group that can really, really dive into all these individual streams and really come up with a plan going forward that doesn't put us talking about this during the season or right before we all start.
Yeah, and
like,
every year, right? We need to lay a plan out there that's going to work. Moving forward year from year to year, not reaction crisis management, but be proactive on it. So more decisions to come. Obviously, we may hear within a couple of days. We may have to wait through the weekend and hear by Monday, but at least we know there's a decision coming down, and what that looks like exactly bundled up, we have yet to see. We may be fishing. We may be fishing for a couple months. We may not be fishing at all. Yet to be determined. So appreciate you taking the time tonight, buddy. Hopefully this finds a resolve to it that allows for you to have a season and take care of your family in that regard. And I guess we'll see where the chips fall.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right, buddy.
All right, bye. So, just a lot of uncertainty, Tommy.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts here. Yeah, and we're dealing with multiple systems, when you talk south and north and how they kind of cross over and persons have opportunity to go back and forth or have an impact on each. So there is a ton of things going on, and this is some trying times. But he's right. We got to get a handle on this, not be reactionary every stinking year, and be proactive. Ironically enough, some of the things WDFW actually is trying to do is because we've been reactionary for so long. At some point, you got to put the tourniquet on, stop the bleeding. Somebody has to take the hit, and then you regroup and try to move forward. Don't send me hate mail, but there has to be a change somewhere along the line, and you have to make that adjustment. At some point, people have to be willing to just bite it for a couple of years, and then we can hopefully move forward productivity-wise. So, okay, we're a little bit behind schedule, as to be expected on involved topics like that. We're going to jump out for a quick break, and then guess who's coming on?
The Squid King!
the Squid King of Seattle is going to join us. None other than Captain Paul Kim, who is going to find out his new nickname.
He is. I don't think he knows yet.
I don't think he does either. But we got a couple folks chiming in. Hey, where's the Squid King? Hey, when's the Squid King coming on? Squidding in Puget Sound is a heck of a lot of fun. Something that you need to get your family out and do. Everything from how to go get them, what to do with them after you got them, and some great recipes to utilize.
Yeah, this is going to be a good discussion.
It's going to be great. Okay, we jump out for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. About a minute or so on a commercial. We come back. Captain Paul Kim right here at Fish Hunt Northwest. A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water. Hey, welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest, Wayne England, Tommy Donlan. First time guest on the phone.
Yeah.
And like most of our guests, eventually we'd like to get him in studio, but first time on the phone's not too bad. Captain Paul Kim, Fish, Pacific Northwest Guide Service, and of course, Seattle Squid Fishing Charter.
The Squid King.
The Squid King of Seattle. Yes, welcome to the show, Paul. Thanks for taking time to join us tonight.
You bet. Good evening, Mr. Donlan, Mr. England. Thank you so much for having me on the show this fine evening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you bet.
Tommy, you recently went out with Captain
I did.
Paul.
I got the luxury of going out with the Squid King himself.
Most impressive was the headdress.
Yes.
Oh,
so if you do your job with Seattle Squid, with Captain Paul, aka the Squid King, and you are able to get your limits and do well, you are crowned the Squid King for a moment, and you take. Do we have that picture? Do we have the picture?
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. David's
it's on the it's on the reel. You get to don a full squid hat. Where did you get those anyway?
So my family and I, we were rolling back from Yellowstone back in September, and we figured, hey, let's do something fun for the kids. And so we were coming back through Kellogg, and I said, hey, you know what? Silverwood's open. The theme park.
There it is.
So we made a detour. We made a detour from Coeur d'Alene, headed north, and then we ended up at Silverwood. They've got an RV park right there, and kids have always wanted to stay there. And then we did a day at the theme park, and my wife, she nudged at me and she said, "Hey, there's a lady running around with a squid hat on." What? Are you kidding me?
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle,
far away.
Yeah, in the middle of Idaho.
You couldn't be further from saltwater.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's glorious.
So then I run up to her and I said, "Hey, where'd you get that hat?"
Yeah.
She said, "There's a store over here, and they're selling them." And sure enough, we rolled
Picked
over
them
there,
up.
and
Right
I bought 4 of them, and I said, "This is going to be perfect,"
Right.
So you got to tell people. I mean, this is the first time I think we've talked about squidding on the show, and
Yes, sir.
some people are probably thinking, we've got squid in the Puget Sound. Like squid you can catch. Tell us a little bit about the fishery, and when did you start fishing them, and how has the fishery grown so much in popularity?
Oh my gosh! I mean, so they've been around. They've been a fixture in our sound for generations, right? And so I remember I've got friends whose parents and grandparents used to fish for them way back when. So obviously the docks have been a very popular place for people to jig for them, and I thought, well, this might be fun. I tried it a number of years ago with my kids, and I was, to be honest with you, I was a bit intimidated. I didn't want my kids to be out there on the docks. I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this, and so squid are around during the winter months. That's my favorite time to go out, but it's a year-round fishery. We've got a distinct summer run that typically goes from April, May into June, and then the winter runs in the falls. Those are my favorite. They start around September and then go all the way through January. But typically, my favorite months are going to be October, November, December. Those 3 months are very good because, number one, you've got a nice size quality to them. In the summer, they typically run 5 to 6 inches, so pretty small.
Yeah.
But in the winter, we'll see 8 to 12 inches on the same species of squid. So we've got one species of squid that come through here. It's Loligo opalescens. That's a scientific name, but they're also commonly known as market squid.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, going down to the piers and the docks in downtown Seattle, and that's how I cut my teeth on it. So, I went to school at O'Day High School in downtown Seattle, Capitol Hill.
Right.
And, after practice or after lifting, I would take my 65 Mustang, roll down the hill, go to the waterfront, park it, grab all my squid gear out of my trunk, and I'd go to Pier 69 and, walk down the dock. And like you dude, I was so addicted to, just growing up, I've been addicted to fishing all my life. But,
oh, sure.
I was willing to fight. It didn't matter how sketchy the situation was, getting through downtown or, walking down the pier. I didn't really care, man. I had my halogen lights. I was going down the dock. I was going to go shoulder to shoulder. It didn't matter who was there. I was going to get those squid.
Get your squid.
And so you're bringing back some good memories for me. So tell us.
That's good.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your operation. We're staring right now at a couple pictures of some beautiful ambiance here, some lights in a bucket.
Oh yeah.
And tell us about what do the lights do? How do you set them up? What do you have set up on your boat, and how does that all work?
Yeah, great question. So obviously lighting is very important when we go out at night, but most people don't realize that, we can catch squid during the daytime just as well sometimes. So, but what we have running on the boat for lights, we do run a small portable Yamaha generator, and that's a 2,000 watt generator, and it operates a number of lights. on the boat. So on the advent of LED technology, the lighting has gotten lighter and it's got more powerful. And the benefit is you don't have the burnout that we used to see with the big metal halide lights or the halogen bulbs, right? They get super hot, and then they typically are very, very, very expensive. However, on the advent of LED technology, someone can rig up their boat with a pretty good 500 watt LED light, throwing off a decent amount of light, and connecting that with a small portable generator if they wish. Now that's one option that is available. Some boat squidders they're doing it with an LED light bar with a 12 volt application using marine batteries. But we find that you running the generator, the portable, is nicer because we're running so many frequent trips versus having to keep charging up marine batteries for risk of loss of lumens, right? So we want to cast out pretty much a rave party down there and then get the squid boogieing to the boat.
Yeah, a rave party. I've never been to one of those. I don't think I'll ever go. But
how deep water are we? How deep water are we chasing these things in?
Yeah.
What was that? Could you repeat that?
How deep of water are we finding these squid, and then where? And then for somebody that's new to this, that's never taken their boat out, how do they find out where to go?
Yeah, so great question. So squid are attracted to the piers. They're attracted to sandy bottoms. They like a little bit of structure because they're coming in to spawn. They've got a life cycle of about 18 months, and so they're migrating in from the straits and from the ocean. And so they're coming in, they're looking to connect up and drop their eggs, and they're hungry. So they're simply coming in to eat and to reproduce. So we're intercepting them anywhere from 30 feet of water all the way down to 100 feet. So that's where electronics is super, super important. You want to have a high quality sounder with a good transducer that can clearly identify those schools. So anywhere you're going to find structure, that's why anywhere in downtown where you have the piers, where they can lay their eggs or kind of hide underneath the seawalls or the artificial structure, we're going to find more activity over there as well. So,
yeah. That sonar, like you mentioned, that is very important. When I was with you, we had the Ray Marine fired up, and it was like we had, I don't know what the biomass is that we had underneath your boat, Paul, but I mean, there was thousands of squid, and you looked overboard and you could see them underneath the boat. It was thick. The whole sounder was filled up. It was like, 10 feet down to 40 feet, just solid squid. Yeah. And then you could see, we had a seal attack. Oh. We had 2 seal come in and bomb our squid squad. And try to say that 10 times fast. Squid squad. And it was like somebody came on the sounder and cut the screen. Oh. You could see just nothing. The squid were gone, and then boom, there's the seals on the sonar. It's like a squid. Just like that. And I mean, when they disappear, it's like you might not even have a jig in the water because they're not there.
Oh yeah,
they're not there.
It's crazy.
No, they're lightning fast. Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of jigs, tell us about your rod reel setup, the line, the jigs. How does that all work, and what's the technique? I know there's a technique.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, there's definitely a technique. So we've kind of migrated over from the dock squidders. They like to use. We noticed a lot of them are using fly rods. 9 foot 5 weight or 9 foot 6 weight fly rod. But I didn't like the idea of using a fly rod. Number one, they're kind of pricey. Yeah. Number two, I mean, you don't want to take your $1,000 Sage rod out there and go squidding, right? And so and I didn't like the idea of putting a reel on a traditional spinning reel onto a fly rod because, as you know, there's no real lower handle or butt to grab onto, and so it puts a lot of repetitive strain on your wrist. So
would a kokanee rod work?
A kokanee rod would absolutely work. Absolutely, absolutely.
They fight kokanee rod. Paul, the fight is about like a kokanee, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kokanee rod would work.
I'm in.
Sold.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Paul.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we found that a crappie rod, a super lightweight, works really well, and they come in a 9 foot length, similar to a fly rod. They've got a very comfortable upper and lower EVA grip, foam grip, and it's just perfectly mated to 3,000 or 4,000 series spinning reel. So that's what we use for the rod. We use a 12-pound Iserline mono. Platinum series, or you could use a 10-pound braid if you choose to go that way, and then we just top shot that the braid if you're using braid with a little bit of Iserline on there, and then we transition that to typically 2 jigs for our guests when we go out. Now the regulation allows up to 4, but it's a little bit too much to handle sometimes for especially beginners when we're going out. So
that's why you gave me 1 jig, huh?
That's right. Well, you've been around the block. We know that. So you had to do the work, compared to everyone else running 2 jigs. So yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hey,
so
real quick, let's delve in. Some folks are on here typing in. They want to know some different recipes other than calamari. Got some quick recipes you can throw out there for folks, or some ideas on what they could look up on the internet?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, stuffed squid is one of my favorite things to have. So, yes, absolutely. So, stuffed squid.
Stuff it with sausage, like Jimmy?
We stuff it with Italian sausage, ground beef. If you've got some elk sausage, stuff that, stuff it, and then throw it on the barbecue grill, for a little bit, right? Really? And then you just cut it with a fork and knife, and it's heavenly. Absolutely.
I want to have that. You sent me a video, Paul, of eating a live squid. I want to try that. What do you call that again? What's the name of the sushi place, and what's the name of that dish?
Well, so we had a little cooking demonstration yesterday over at our friend Taichi Kitamura's restaurant, Sushi Capo Tamura, located on East Lake. So we were out with him and a couple of the boat show people, and we went squidding, and then we ended up going back to the restaurant and doing a few different dishes over there. So that was a lot of fun. So we did some sushi preparations, nigiri style, and then we did some sashimi, and then he did some tempura, which is one of my favorites. It's a classic. It's very good for anyone who's kind of adverse to the fishiness of squid, which is not fishy at all, right?
No, it's not.
And then we did a sake butter recipe, which was just out of this world, with some mustard greens and some potatoes, which was fantastic. Yeah, but stir fried, spicy sauce. I like them poached with a little bit of spicy Korean chili sauce. That's one of my favorite preparations. But my favorite is actually salt and pepper squid, Chinese style, and that's lightly deep fried in some cornstarch dusting, and then served with Thai chilies or jalapenos.
You hungry yet? I'm getting hungry.
That's a lot of options.
Yeah, but the key is do not overcook the squid.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like one and done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, Paul, before the end of season, you have room for folks to track you down and jump on board and learn how to get out there and get their squid. So what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me, my Facebook, which is you just do a search under Seattle Squid, or the website, seattlesquid.com. Easy to find, easy to search.
You're going to have to change that to Seattle King of Seattle.
Squid King. Squid King.
It's better than being the Burger King, right?
Yeah. KingofSeattle.com. Better grab that before somebody else does. Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you taking time to jump on and give us a little insight into the squidding depths of Seattle, for sure.
Absolutely. And real quick thank you out to our friends at the Pacific Northwest Shellfish and Squid pages, and thank you for your support. Thank you for Double R Jakes for supporting our business and believing in the dream, and thank you so much for Fish Hunt Northwest and Tommy Dolan, Wayne England, for hosting me this evening.
Perfect.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
All right,
be in touch, buddy. Have a great night.
All right. You betcha.
All right,
good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
I'm definitely going to make the dancing squid I think he didn't want to get into it. It's a little gruesome.
Oh.
But I'll go into it for the viewers, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all about ratings.
So you take the live squid, right? And you cut it right above the eyeballs.
Oh.
Okay.
Make a little hat?
Right. No, you don't. And I think they were serving it over, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it looked like they were serving it over rice. And you pour a little bit of soy sauce on top of the squid, the head, what's left.
Yeah.
And it dances.
Oh, makes it move.
The squid starts moving all over the place.
Is it a salt? I've seen that on TV.
I don't know, but I saw that and I'm like, I want to try that. I have to experience that firsthand. And it looked amazing too.
Here's what you do. You swallow it whole. You drink the soy sauce, and then you have it all jumbling down in your gut. Huh? What do you think? The hardest part is to get it down without chewing, like an oyster.
Yeah, right. Or without getting it stuck in your throat.
Well,
because it's alive.
Life-saving measures.
Yeah, right.
All right, good stuff from Captain Paul, no doubt. We are going to jump out for a quick break. We're going to continue this crazy party. You, my friend, are going to jump into the bait lab.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Break it down on what you need to know to be successful out here for the winter crabbing in Puget Sound. Waiting and baiting your crab pot with none other than the Tommy Donlan, right here when we come back from this commercial break, Fish on Northwest. Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21 foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Welcome back to Fish on Northwest. I'm Tommy Donlan. We are in the Bait Lab, brought to you by Bax Lure. We're going to talk about one of my favorite all-time pastimes tonight, and I'm going to give you basically my recipe for how I've been crabbing since I was a little kid. And it's pretty bulletproof, and the big thing is it's totally not expensive. I'm a big fan of the Danielson pots. They're cheap, they're simple. Sportco's running a sale right now. I think you can pick them up for like 16 bucks. Really cheap. So I want to start with the pot and kind of walk you through the entire system from A to Z. The first thing you'll notice about these pots is they are collapsible. And so when I go crabbing, right, it's in the state of Washington, it's 2 pots per person. You have 5 people on your boat, that's 10 pots. I'm absolutely, every time, gonna grab the maximum number of pots that I can to take advantage of the opportunity. So, you know, with 10 pots, if you're using the rigid pots, it gets, you know, unless you have a sizable deck space to work with, you need to be able to stack them. So I do like the Danielson pots for that. You know, as we look at this pot in particular, you're gonna notice basically it's just a square pot. You got 4 sides, 4 gates, or doors as we would call them. You know, the thing to think about here is with these doors, you know, sometimes you're going to be setting your pot in current. Sometimes you'll get like eelgrass that drifts through and catches your pot. And, you know, if we look at the table and we come down here, one of the things that you're going to notice on these pots is I've taken some pencil lead and I've wrapped it around the gate. And the reason for that is to keep that gate closed and keep the eelgrass, keep the current from catching it and kind of blowing it open. You want to make sure this stays closed. You don't want to, you know, bring that pot up and have those gates open, especially if for whatever reason your pot comes up, you know, cocked at an angle and maybe that door got blown open or locked open. You want to try to keep those doors shut. The other thing you're going to notice in the top of the pot here is basically by regulation you need to have some rot cord and a ring, and that's in the event that you lose that pot, you've got to allow those crab a way to escape. And I tell you what, the other reason that I like using the Danielson pots is they're inexpensive, and a lot of the pot selection, I do have nicer pots, trust me. I've got some commercial style round solid pots that I use from time to time, but a lot of it depends on, in my opinion, where you're crabbing. If you're crabbing in a high traffic area, I'm going to be running this pot all day long. And the reason for that is that, you know, you get people that decide that this pot is their pot and they will take your pot, i.e. steal it. Or I don't know if you guys have seen, there's just a lack of boating skill out there on the water these days. And I've watched guys recently just mow over buoys that were very visible in their line of their path. So I try to keep the cost down in the event that my pot experiences one of these traumatic events. The other thing is, if you are going to you know, set your pot overnight, or you're going to crab in anything that's, I would say anything that's over a half a knot of current, you really need to weigh your pot, especially these pots. These pots don't weigh anything. And so what I've got here is I've got a couple pieces of rebar, and it's really simple. These 2 pieces about, you know, it's the length of the crab pot, and I've got 2 bars. I'm going to set them up on opposite sides of the crab pot on the bottom, and really simple attachment. I'm just going to get some heavy duty zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie them to the bottom of the pot. Okay. Now, if I'm just going out for a day and I'm going to monitor my pots, or they're in an area that's, you know, not frequently traveled, there's not a lot of current, I'm not going to worry about trying to weight them with a whole lot of rebar. I'm just not as worried about losing that pot. But the rebar does make that pot stick to the ground. One of the things that I'm a big believer in is absolutely having really good bait, the freshest bait you can get, and then absolutely dousing it with the Potskie's crab and shrimp fuel. Okay, now there is definitely a system to how I run crab bait in the crab pots. I like to set my pots for about an hour and a half and then pull them. Okay, and so what I've got is I'll have a 5-gallon bucket, and I've got a whole bunch of bait in there. And what I'll do is before the trip, about a day and a half before, 2 days before, I'll take that bait out. I'll throw it all into the 5-gallon bucket, and then what I'll do is I'll take 2 bottles of the crab and shrimp fuel, and I will just douse the bait, put a lid on it, and just let it soak there for a day and a half, 2 days. And then when I go crabbing, I'm shoving these bags full of bait. Okay, and I mean, if you really stretch these bait bags out, you can get a whole tuna head in there if you want. But the thing that I want you to think about in terms of the bait and the size of these pots is when you put a tuna head inside of this pot and really fill up that space, sometimes you're blocking a door. So I don't like to put so much bait in here as to where I'm potentially, keeping a door open, or I'm blocking crab from being able to come in because I've got that much bait in my pot. So there is a fine line that, too much bait can really be not advantageous to catching crab. The other thing I'll say is I am really picky about making sure that when I put this bait bag in the middle of that pot, it's got to be smack dab in the middle. So I'm finding the absolute center line of this pot and making sure that the bait is hanging from that point in the pot. Okay, and then I'm just taking this long line clip and I'm clipping it off to the top. And when it's filled with bait, it's actually going to touch the bottom of the pot. So not only do you have, really good bait, I use a lot of tuna bloodlines. If I've gone through all my crab bait and I need to buy chicken, I will buy chicken, go to Winco, buy some really cheap chicken. But the thing is you've got a visual aspect to your bait. You've got hanging bait. They can visually see it. They've got something that they can pick at and they can eat. And then you've just doused it with Potski's crab and shrimp fuel. So you've got a massive scent trail going away from your pot. So you've got instant scent, and then you've got that kind of resonating, bait that's going to hang here, and they can see it, and they're going to continue to crawl in your pot that entire hour and a half. Now then the next thing I do is when I pull that pot, take the crab out, keep the keepers, throw the other ones away or back. I'll take that bait out. It's been washed out for about an hour and a half. I'll take the bait that's in the bucket that's got the crab and shrimp fuel all over it and just reload this thing. But I don't throw out the bait that I just took out. I'll put that back in the bucket. I mix that back in there and it sucks up this crab and shrimp fuel again. So you can reuse that bait. So you're not running out of bait every time you pull the pot and switch your bait in your bait bag. So that's why I really love this stuff. It allows you to crab all day without filling a 150 quart cooler full of crab bait. The other thing that I'll say is that, the bags are great, but if you are going to run a box, make sure that when you put the box inside of the crab pot, make sure that it is in the absolute center of the pot. So what I'll do is I'll take just a little bungee and make sure that this thing is perfectly positioned in the center of that pot with this bungee. And that way I know I'm not blocking any doors or keeping a crab from coming in. But I do like the bait bags better. They're easier to pack, they're quicker, easier to dump it out, easier to handle. It's a lot easier to hang them in the pot. So I like that method. The other thing you're gonna notice, you've probably been looking at in this entire video and wondering, what in the heck does Tommy have on the table for his buoy setup? And I guess I'll start with the obvious. This is leaded line. Okay, this is 1/4 inch from Sportco. They got a really good deal online, so I picked up a couple 600-foot spools. I've got a stainless steel carabiner with a kind of a thread locking nut. They make some quick links and things like that, but I'm just a double check, triple check kind of guy, and I've got to see that mechanical lock. I want to see that on there, and then the knot on here tying to this link is a San Diego knot, which is bulletproof. You're not going to get this undone. And so basically I'll take this, I'll attach it directly to the pot in the center. Some of the pots I do start, with the Danielsons, believe it or not, this pot has seen a lot of sets. This pot right here is probably 8 years old. I've had this pot a long time. And so I do inspect the pots from time to time, and if I feel that the top of the pot is getting weak, I'll attach to a different point, or I'll hook multiple segments of the pot and then hook this onto the line itself before I throw the pot overboard. On the buoy, you're going to notice some PVC here. So you're looking at basically a field goal up top and a field goal on the bottom, and the only reason I do this is you're looking right at it so I can wrap the line around the buoy. It's self-contained. I'm not a big fan of keeping line on a different spool. I'm not a big fan of throwing it in the pot and then trying to sort it out later. This system works really well for me, and up until the point of doing this how-to, I was the only guy on the water that had this system, but now that I'm sharing it with you guys, you're probably gonna do the same thing. Do me a favor though, pick a different color. Do not paint the top of your buoys with the bright fluorescent orange. Thank you. But this works really well. Keeps the line together, and it kind of keeps each buoy independent, and I don't have to worry about it. The other thing I'll tell you is these are measured exactly. These shots of line on the buoys are measured, and what I do is I put the length of the rope on the bottom of the buoy. Okay, and so I know that when we're doing a set, if I want to do an extra deep set at 120 feet, I can look at the bottom of my buoy and I go, okay, this one's got 120, grab the one that's got 200 feet. Okay, grab that one, hook it onto the pot, chuck it, and then you're not sitting there going, oh, I wonder if it's going to hit bottom. Is it going to hit bottom? Oh, there goes my buoy. I guess not, right? So you don't ever have to play that guessing game. Always measure your line, know how much line you got on there. That'll give you a good indicator. Okay, that's it. We've covered A to Z on crabbing. Pretty simple. All of this is really cheap. It's a cheap way to crab, and it allows you to make a lot of setups. Now with that knowledge, good luck out on the water. Hope you enjoyed this how-to. Don't go very far. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on Fish Hunt Northwest.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water.
There you go. Hey, welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. Tommy, fantastic job.
Thank you.
That was some solid info. The questions and the comments were blowing up here on the old computer, so I just sat here and made you look like a rock star.
Did you? That's good. Well, I could use that.
There's a few comments that you may be subject to scrutiny.
Oh, I am? Really? Okay. I'll have to check that out.
I hear a little reindeer working in the background over here.
I hear it too.
Yeah, we got something going on there. It looks like Harper with a set of antlers and nose, but hey. Anyway, we've run a little long. We are going to defer our conversation with Mr. Shelby Ross to next week when we talk about hunting ducks and geese over in the Potholes area and the Potholes Duck Taxi that he runs. Fantastic operation. Go to rossoutdooradventures.com. Check out everything he's got going on over there. We will definitely tie in with him next week and get caught up. We got kind of a steadiness in the weather, I guess, this week with cooler temperatures, sunny days, very little to no wind, which if you're a waterfowl hunter, you know that's not generally conducive to really good hunting. So things have changed a little bit over there anyway. Hopefully we get this weather change coming in here in about 3 or 4 days, and things will spruce up once again, and there'll be some good activity to talk about. So lots of content covered tonight. Again, pending closures, indoor, shortened seasons, or something in the form of who knows what it's going to look like when it's all bundled up and presented. Hopefully, if we don't find out by tomorrow, Friday, probably can anticipate a decision by Monday. And we'll see where that goes. What's the matter? Anyway, okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to check in with Shelby next week. Appreciate everybody signing on tonight. Great show. Had lots of fun here tonight. Great guests on the phone. We're going to get back to the point of having guests in the studio, but for right now, we should. With everything going on, we're just going to kind of lay low and keep persons at bay. So keep your distance. Wear your damn mask. Anyway, okay. You got comments, questions, concerns, what have you, throw them at us all week long. We're interactive on our social media. We try to get to all questions that are presented to us. Jump over to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe. Let's get us up over 3,000. We're struggling here. We
We're just getting started.
We're doing great on the Facebook side of things. We're just trying to build that YouTube channel even more. So
help us out.
Yeah, lots of great comments here tonight. You guys, you know what? Take a few minutes, help us out. Spread our content. If you like it, we'll keep bringing it to you. Spend your money with our sponsors. They help support our show so we can bring it to you each and every week, and we really enjoy doing that. And so we are done. Looks like the little reindeer wants to cut. You want to come on the camera? Anyway, all right. Have a great week. Take advantage and get out on the water while we can, because we don't know what direction that is going to go. So get out, take advantage of it. Get out, do some crabbing. Get out and do some squidding. Contact those guests we had on the phone earlier tonight. Captain Paul Kim, the Squid King of Seattle. He is more than happy to get you out on the water. Hit us up on Messenger with Tommy. Ask him questions about the crabbing. Had some questions on here about weighting your pot. If you're a little unclear about that, hit us up with messages, and we'll get you those answers. So have a great week. Enjoy it. Get out on the water. Go shoot some ducks. Go get that late deer if you still got a tag. And we will definitely see you next week right here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Oh, and don't forget to jump on sportco.com. Get your $25 off your kill bag, your catch cooler.
The code is Fish Hunt. Fish
Hunt, one word.
One word.
Checkout, and you can decide whether you want it to be shipped and/or stop by and pick it up. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you next Thursday, 6 p.m. right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.